good day to Professor Dr. Nazihah Binti Ahmad and my fellow friends. Today, my group will be presenting our project about an application of Altman's score model in predicting bankruptcy companies, which is financial distress companies in Bursa Malaysia. We are from Group 5 and my group members are me, Nur Aslina binti Muhammad, Nur Jamila binti Adnan, Nur Hazwani binti Hassan and Almaswani Shazwani binti Mustafa. So now we will continue with our presentation.
Firstly, we will present our abstract. This research has been focused on the company that lists under Practice Note 70, PN70 company by Bursa Malaysia. PN70 company is a company that has financial distress and issued by Malaysian Stock Exchange. The aim of this study is to measure the bankruptcy company among PN70 company based on their financial ratio by using Altman Z-score. We has been used sample random sampling model to select the sample. There are 80 companies that has been selected out of 22 companies that list under PN70 company. The selected company will be categorized to two categories, which is manufacturing company category and non-manufacturing company category, due to measure their financial condition. The secondary data has been collected based on the annual report from PN70 company in 2019. By using the correlation coefficient, there are three financial ratios that have a positive relationship with Altman Z-score model, and there are two financial ratios that have no relationship with Altman Z-score. Then, by using the multiple regression, there are significant of Altman Z-score model in predicting the bankruptcy company, because almost all the company that list under PN70 company have a financial distress. Lastly, by using the descriptive analysis, almost all the company that list under PN70 company is a bankruptcy company. Therefore, it is accurate and relevant that Altman Z-score model in predicting the bankruptcy company. So we suggest that the investor that want to invest your money in the company that is under PN70 company do not.
Hello, my name is Nazihah Binti Hassan. I would like to present about the introduction. First of all, Bursa Malaysia had introduced PN17 companies on 3 January 2020. What is a PN17 company? PN17 company is generally encountered as a financial distress or does not have a core business, or the company failed to meet the minimum capital or equity, which is less than 25%. On 30th November 2020, there are 22 listed company in a Bursa Malaysia under PN17 company. So the purpose of this study is to determine the relationship between the financial ratio and the Altman Z-score model in the financial statements of PN17 company. Moreover, we would like to examine the significance of Altman Z model in predicting bankruptcy, and also to investigate whether all the PN17 companies in the Bursa Malaysia are bankruptcy companies.
So we proceed to the problem statement. Due to pandemic COVID-19, most of the company that listed in PN70 companies by Bursa Malaysia has been affected on their financial conditions. Therefore, the investor will doubt to the financial health of some PN70 companies. Then the investor also will feel concerned about they will might be lost or get a profit from their share of stock that they own by the company that under PN70 companies.
So next is a literature review part. In the literature review, we have a 4 section which is PN17 companies, bankruptcy, Altman score methods, and financial ratio. PN17 company we found in the one article which is from NZ Kim Song, Ali Abu Salah Al-Mubarak Muhammad, and Fatih Khalifa. From bankruptcy, we got from David Alimanus, Mazura Muhammad Ali, Dana Ogachi, and then Katarama is all. For the Altman score method, we found from a 4 article which is Hayes et al., Prof. Darajosi, Messimilian Moseli, and Yoshiyama Odiba, Abu Basit, and Zubair Abu Hassan. For the financial ratio part, we got from 3 articles which is Muammar Gaddafi, Falahuddin Muhammad Haikal, and Ayu Nandari 2017, Edward 1968, and Sharif Muhammad 2017.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Nur Jamila Binti. So I will continue for the research objective for this project. Objective 1, to determine the relationship between the financial ratio and Altman Z-score model in the financial situation of PN70 companies. So the objective 2, to examine the significance of Altman Z-score model in predicting bankruptcy companies. For the objective 3, to investigate whether all the PN70 companies listed in the Bursa Malaysia are bankruptcy companies. So I will continue for the scope of the research. For the scope of the research, data of 22 PN70 companies which were selected from the different sector that listed in the Bursa Malaysia, and the financial ratio that we use is working capital divided by the total assets, return earning divided by total assets, earning before interest divided by total assets, market value of equity divided by total liabilities, and the last is the sale divided by total assets that we will compare with the Ahmad Z-score. And the analysis of the PN70 companies are based on the financial information of 2019. And for the research significance, the research is intended to provide future analysis of the financial situation of the PN70 companies, positioned to reinforce the confidence shareholder and investors to making a better investment decision.
So now I will explain our methodology for this project. The first one is the sampling. How do we do the sampling? We are referring to the financial distress companies that was listed under PN17 companies in Bursa Malaysia. From PN17 companies, there are 22 companies that has a financial distress that was formed by the Bursa Malaysia, and the sample size that we need for our project is 18 companies only for this project. And how do we collect the data? We just use annual report from the companies that we choose, which is 18 companies from PN17. So the annual report is considered as a secondary data, and the secondary data is actually reliable for it has been audited by the auditors. And then for our project, we are using the Altman score model to predict to determine the financial distress for those companies, which is we categorize the companies into two, which is manufacturing and non-manufacturing companies. So the next is, how do we analyze the data? For research objective 1, we use the Pearson's correlation to analyze the data. And then research objective 2, we just analyze the Altman score model. And then the last one is research objective 3, we are using descriptive statistics. So that's our methodology for this project.
So I will continue for the result and finding for this project for objective 1, objective 2 and objective 3. So I will continue for the result of objective 1. So from the table 1, it shows that H1, H2 and H3 are accepted. Means that the Altman model affect the financial ratio in the working capital divided by total assets, retained earning divided by total assets, earning before interest and tax divided by total assets. You can see from the tables, the value of the p-value is less than 0.01. So we need to reject as null. And the conclusion of these three hypotheses is positive significant with the financial ratio and the Altman Z-score model. And for the H4 and H5, we need to reject, means that the Altman Z-score was not affect the financial ratio in the market value of equity divided by total assets and the sale divided by total assets, because the p-value is greater than 0.01. So we need to reject H4 and H5. The conclusion of these two hypotheses is no significant relationship between the financial ratio and the Altman Z-score model.
Our results for research objective 2, which is we want to determine the significance of Altman Z-score model in predicting the bankruptcy companies. So by referring to the table 5 shown in this slide, we are referring to the Altman Z-score model, where it consists of 3 probability of bankruptcy, which is low, high and a gray area. So we found that both manufacturing companies and non-manufacturing companies has 0% of low probability to bankrupt, which means there are no companies that has a good health financial for their company. So which means there are 94% of companies under PN17 has a poor financial performance, or actually has a financial distress. And then the Altman Z-score model is significant to be used in predicting bankruptcy companies for this project. So we can see that this Altman Z-score model can be used to predict the bankruptcy companies. So that's all.
I will continue for the last research objective, which is the research objective 3. Based on the result table 3, it shows that the working capital divided by total asset, retained earning divided by total asset, and the last the earning before interest and tax divided by total asset has a negative mean, which we run off for the 4 decimal places. So we get the value is negative 1.0735, and the second is negative 5.8070, and the last is the negative 0.6413 respectively. So the value of the negative means that all the PN70 companies listed in the Bursa Malaysia has more debt than their total asset in their financial. Because of that, they don't have enough retained earning to cover the debt, and this problem will affect the company because they have a probability of going to bankruptcy and financial distress is high, even though they have a market value of equity divided by liabilities and sales divided by total assets on the positive means. It shows that the means of the financial ratio for the PN70 companies are lower, and for the conclusion, it proves that all PN70 companies listed in the Bursa Malaysia are bankruptcy companies.
Now we are come to the end of this presentation. For the conclusion is this paper conducted generally to investigate the accuracy of Altman Z-score model in predicting the bankruptcy companies in Bursa Malaysia that was listed under PN17 companies. The companies mostly had a positive relationship between financial ratios and the Altman Z-score model, which is shown by capitals over the total assets, retained earnings over total assets, and also the earnings before interest and tax over total assets ratios. And then we can see that almost all of the PN17 companies were facing a financial distress as discussed before, and it is proven that all the companies are bankrupt companies. So that what we can say. And then we can conclude that the bankruptcy prediction towards PN17 companies on Bursa Malaysia by using Altman's core model is accurate and relevant for this project. So that's all from our group, and thank you.